Welcome to the Indian Newslink Podcast by Praneeta Mahajan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indian Newslink Podcast. I'm Praneeta Mahajan, and I wanted to talk about a story that all of you have shown great interest in recently. It's about the screen time that the kids are spending their time on after school. And this is a research that was done by the University of Otago. And in the research, it came to light that there are regulations that are urgently needed to protect the children from harm in the unregulated online world, because they were spending almost a third of their after school hours and time on screen, and half of that time was after 8 o'clock in the night. So now when I say screen time, it's generally it includes the time that the kids are spending engaged in any digital devices, whether it's watching videos, playing games, or even on the educational apps that the kids are very used to nowadays. As adults, we often find ourselves absorbed in the virtual world. We've got smartphones, tablets, computers, televisions all around us, and it's become a very integral part of our lives. And of course, kids are not an exception there. The excessive use of screen time, though, has a very different impact on children, on their physical and mental development than the adults. And that is why this research, which was conducted by Dr. Moira Smith, says that the current guidelines say that children should spend less than 2 hours on screen every day outside of their school time. And that is for school-age children and adolescents. Now, if we are spending more, we are definitely spending a lot more time since then, because since the research happened, there have been we've been hit by COVID. We've had many lockdowns, and of course our screen time usage has increased significantly since then. So the negative impacts of being online, or of being using screen or engaging with the screen, is a lot more severe, because experts have said, and Dr. Smith also quoted in her research recently, that spending time online or on your screens is associated with obesity. It's associated with poor mental health and well-being in kids. It also relates to poor sleep patterns, and lack of physical activity definitely has its own impact on their well-being and how they feel and how they perform in their everyday lives. Now, other than the obvious impact of being on screen, there is another big danger lurking around, and that is the children being exposed to ads which encourage vaping, alcohol, gambling, junk food ads, just experiencing racism, bullying online. All that kind of becomes a very integral part of their lives, along with the screen time that might feel like a temporary respite for parents who've just come back after a long day at work and still need to get their dinner ready and still need to take care of many, many more chores around the house. So cyberbullying, like for example, is very big. It's very high, particularly among children in New Zealand, with 1 in 4 parents reporting that their child has been subjected to bullying while they were online. We need some legislations which address these threats, because the existing legislations are definitely outdated and they are not adequate to deal with the online world which these kids are being exposed to. And it is so dynamic, everything is changing so fast, and I think our legislations need to keep up with these threats and these dangers for the young minds, because we need to make sure that this unregulated space that the kids are spending so much time on every single day has some protection, some guidelines. And that is where, of course, the government has to be a bit more proactive. Although there have been many proposals on more regulations that note that these concerns about children accessing inappropriate content while they're online, especially the content that is related to the ads that are thrown in between these educational programs or your YouTube videos, are definitely a cause of concern, and there are discussions around it, which is great. And if we just work towards it, I think we would achieve a very big milestone in New Zealand. But on an individual level, or on the level of our family lives, what is it that we can do to foster some healthy screen habits in kids? There are definitely a lot of things that you can address on your end, being the parent or the caregiver. You can definitely set very clear guidelines wherein you can limit the amount of screen time in the family. You can outline when and how much screen time the child is allowed every day. You can, of course, you should prioritize quality content, encourage the children to engage with educational and age appropriate content. You need to have that conversation wherein if the child is watching something which is not age appropriate, you need to have that conversation and explain it to them as to why they should not be watching it right now, and tell them that when the time is right, you would have access to all this content, but currently in your age it just might not be the best thing to watch, because it will have an impact on the way you think and the way you feel after consuming all this content. Of course, if you engage in activities together, co-viewing, co-playing also allows parents to guide and discuss content, make that experience more engaging for the kid. But also, when you're there and you are co-viewing, let's say a series or an educational program, or you're playing a game together, you can see firsthand if there is something that is inappropriate, if there is anything that might be a threat, a potential threat for your child. And that is where it's a surveillance, but at the same time, you're making it fun, you're being a part of the child's life, you're spending time together, which is great. I cannot say this enough, but please encourage alternate hobbies. Make sure that kids catch up to just activities like reading, arts and craft, any sport, music. Sometimes just not having screen time, but having some kind of music playing in the house can also be a great relief. It can still keep the kids entertained, but at least they're not engaged completely and sitting in one spot looking at a screen. They can be walking around, they can be doing their own chores around the house, and the music can be playing. You can also, and this has worked amazingly for many of my friends and families, you can establish tech-free zones in your house. So designate certain specific areas in the house, such as the dining table, the bedrooms, where you just label them as tech-free zones. And you can promote family interactions, you can promote quiet times, you can promote reading in those areas. You can have a little reading corner wherein no technology is allowed, even for the adults. And it's going to be a bit tricky to monitor the adults, but if you can have this as a part of the habit of everybody in the household, I think it has, and I've seen it personally, it has had immense advantages to how the kids interact with technology. Now, of course, you will have to monitor for older children, especially children who are in the intermediate or high schools. You would from time to time need to monitor that they are aware of how to use social media and all the online platforms. You should try as much as you can to be aware of their online friends and the conversations they're having. Please educate them about the online safety, potential risk. You have to have those conversations about online, using any online space responsibly, and just being aware of potential signs of problem or threats. And once they are equipped and once they are empowered with the right kind of knowledge, they would make healthy choices in their digital world. They would ensure that people around them are safe, and that is when they can really navigate their way through the coming age of technology and the era of technology. On that note, thank you so much for listening. Please do keep your comments and your feedbacks coming, because they make all the difference. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you about conversations that are taking place in your home. Wish you all a great day ahead. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, please take care. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Indian Newslink Podcast by Praneeta Mahajan.